Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my lottery winnings with my boyfriend's dog, even though I promised? Plus update. So I, 26 female, won a decent amount in the lottery, about $50,000. Before I won, my boyfriend, 29 male, and I would always joke about how, if I ever hit it big, I'd split it 3 ways, between me, him, and his dog Baxter. Baxter is a golden retriever, and I love him, but I always thought it was, just a joke. Well, fast forward to me actually winning, and my boyfriend is now dead serious about wanting me to give Baxter's share of the money. He insists I promised, and that Baxter deserves $10,000 in a dog trust fund for future vet bills, toys, and whatever he needs. I told him that's ridiculous. Baxter is a dog and doesn't need a trust fund. Now, my boyfriend is calling me selfish and saying I went back on my word. He says it's not about the dog, it's about me not keeping promises, and that it shows I don't take our relationship seriously. But seriously? Over a dog? Here's where it gets weird. I actually did buy Baxter a pretty fancy dog bed and some expensive treats with part of the winnings. But my boyfriend is saying that doesn't count, because it wasn't part of the official $10,000 I supposedly promised. He even brought up going to a lawyer to set up the dog trust fund to make it official. I feel like I'm in a twilight zone. Am I the a-hole for not giving a literal dog a chunk of my lottery winnings, even though I might have jokingly promised? Or is this whole thing just absurd? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Your mistake was telling your boyfriend that you'd won. Honestly, I thought sharing the good news would be a fun moment for us. But now it feels like I unleashed a whole can of worms. If I had kept it to myself, maybe I wouldn't be dealing with this wild situation. It makes me wonder if I can ever trust him with big news again. Have any of you ever had a weird experience like this one? Not they all. How long have you been with this guy? This is so odd. It also just thinks of him being money-grabbing. Dave Ramsey always says money doesn't change people. It just highlights who they really are. And I think that's true. What will he be like in future? Huge red flag. We've been together for 2 years and honestly, I've never seen this side of him before. It's like the second I won, he flipped a switch. And now he's acting like I owe his dog this huge payout. I mean, it's not his money, so why is he acting like this is normal? And yeah, I can't help but wonder if he's already this weird about Baxter. What happens if we start talking about our future finances? Do I need to set up a rainy day fund for his goldfish too? I would not give anything to this a-hole after that stupid manipulation he tried to pull to get more money from you. Girl, tell him and his dog to pound sand. I beg of you. Right? It's wild to me that he thinks this is normal behavior. I never expected to be in a relationship where I'd have to defend myself against a dog trust fund. Honestly, I'm so angry right now and seriously thinking about breaking up with him. I love Baxter, but I didn't sign up to be a doggy bank. Yeah, money can do funny things to people. Keep all the money to yourself and dump this a-hat. Not the a-hole. For sure, I'm so disgusted. Might break up. Thought about this a while ago, but I think I'm going to make it a reality tomorrow or maybe today. Sad, but gotta focus on the better things in life. You realize he just wants to take 2/3 of your lottery winnings, right? No chance that money is staying for the dog long term. Now for the update. So after thinking it over, I finally confronted my boyfriend about this whole absurd situation with the dog trust fund. I told him straight up that while I love Baxter, giving $10,000 to a dog is beyond ridiculous. And I can't believe it's turned into such a major issue in our relationship. His reaction? He doubled down. He kept going on about how it's not about the money, even though it's clearly all about the money, and that this is really about trust, and me not keeping promises. He even said that if I can't keep this promise, again about the dog, how can he trust me to keep my word on bigger things? At that point, I just couldn't take it anymore. I told him that this whole situation has raised huge red flags, and after 2 years together, I can't believe he's acting like this. I told him flat out that we're ending our relationship because his priorities seem completely out of whack. If he's this unreasonable over something so absurd, I can't imagine dealing with more serious issues down the road. Instead of reflecting on what I said, he got defensive and accused me of breaking trust. I'm honestly floored by how this has spiraled, but I feel like this breakup was inevitable with how he's been acting. Am I the a-hole for ending a 2-year relationship over a dog trust fund, or is this as insane as it feels? Please tell me you didn't give him any of your winnings. No, I didn't give him any money. I love Baxter, but the whole idea of a dog trust fund is just too much for me. I think it's important to keep the focus on what this really says about our relationship, which is why I'm considering ending things. Just wanted to clarify since so many are asking. If he's prioritizing a dog trust fund over your relationship, that's a pretty massive red flag. Breaking up over this just shows you're not willing to waste time on someone whose values are so off. Trust your instincts. This isn't just about the dog. Not the a-hole. This isn't about the dog at all. He isn't prioritizing a dog trust fund. He's prioritizing getting 2/3 of her winnings, because this is about money and control. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that he absolutely ruined the birth of our child? Hi everyone. Our daughter is now 8 weeks old. So obviously, this whole argument has gone on a very, very long time. We both have been holding grudges and neither of us think that we are wrong. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, my husband started in immediately telling me that I should have a home birth. I really do not know why he was so adamant on it, but he was. At first, I brushed him off and told him I would think about it, because I was only 6 weeks pregnant and the birth seemed so far off. Of course, it came quickly and my husband would literally speak over me at doctor's appointments when my doctor would ask if I had a birth plan. This caused a few arguments between us in those 39 weeks of pregnancy, but I never really changed my mind. Eventually, my husband's mother sat down and talked to me, and she told me all of the reasons why they did not want me to go to a hospital for the birth. I expressed my concerns about, safety of the baby and myself, but just like my husband, she brushed me off. I ended up telling my husband that I would take myself to the hospital when it was time, and that I did not want a home birth. He acted as if he didn't hear me. We met with a doula who was also very pushy. I felt overwhelmed and not supported at all. I was 36 weeks at that point. So when I went into labor, I was 39 weeks, I begged, absolutely begged my husband to take me to the hospital where my doctor is. He wouldn't. He spoke to me condescendingly and called a doula instead. I was in labor for about 3 days, active labor for around the last 22 hours. I cried whole time. I just felt something was wrong. I was scared and oftentimes they left me alone. The doula told me that if active pushing and labor reached 24 hours, I had to go into the hospital. I remember thinking that I could not decide which was worse, staying in labor for another 2 hours or having my baby right there. When she was finally out, I don't even remember wanting to hold her. I just remember crying out of relief. Obviously, I am okay now, but I did not have a good experience. On my first appointment after birth with my doctor, she was very shocked I had a baby. She was concerned. I was so upset. I told my husband that he absolutely ruined it for me. I truly never want to go through that again. I hear mothers say that they forget all the pain the second they have the baby, but I didn't. I love my daughter so much, but it was horrible, and it was entirely his fault. So I told him that, several times. He rolls his eyes every time and tells me how mothers are strong, and how I am not trying to be strong. I told him that if we ever have another baby, which he wants, that I will never do a home birth ever again. His response is, we'll see. I cannot possibly be the a-hole here, can I? Everyone around me is acting like this is so normal, but it's not, is it? Info. Where are you? Where I am, the doctors would have told anyone speaking over the pregnant women to stop, and that their views actually mean very little. Southern US. I'm from Texas. I had a midwife birth. I know lots of midwives and home birthers. Your experience is not normal. A criminal act has been perpetrated against you. In my opinion, you and your child are still in mortal danger. This man and his family are a clear danger to you and your child. Call the police. Report everyone. Take the baby and leave. This right here, OP. This is outright abuse of you at a very vulnerable time for you. not the a-hole, and do not have another child with this man. Please leave him now, before he raises your child this way and only his way. Your wishes will never be respected because this man and his mother do not respect you. Please, Opie, put you and your daughter first. If this is true, take the baby and freaking run. Yep, not a good situation for her and the baby. Totally ignoring her wishes and what's best for her health. Also, this is just a start, especially when it comes to the baby. He and his family will think they know better than health professionals. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out after she stole my engagement ring? So I, 28 female, recently got engaged, and my fiancé proposed with a family heirloom ring that means the world to me. My sister, 25 female, has always been a bit of a troublemaker, and she has a history of borrowing, stealing, my stuff without asking. I've confronted her about it before, but she always brushes it off. A few days ago, I noticed my ring was missing. I searched everywhere and eventually confronted my sister. She admitted she took it to try it on and lost track of it. I was furious because it's not just any ring, it's a piece of a family history. After a few hours of searching, she finally found it in her purse, but she'd scratched it pretty badly and didn't think it was a big deal. I was so upset that I told her she needed to leave my house and find somewhere else to stay for a while. My parents are now saying I overreacted and that I should forgive her since she's family. I feel justified in my anger, but I'm starting to wonder if I took it too far. Am I the a-hole for kicking her out? Now for the comments. Tell your parents that because she is family, you will not be reporting her for attempted theft, and they can provide her with a place to stay. They know she has a history of stealing. Protect herself by keeping you out of your home. You deserve a space where you can feel secured and respected. Standing firm on your boundaries is crucial, especially with family. Agreed. It is apparent that you value that ring, and even if you didn't, she shouldn't be taking anything from you or borrowing it. Not a-hole. LMAO, stealing an engagement ring from you sounds like a super good reason not to let her stay with you. In my opinion, your parents are weird for not treating that like a big deal. I would probably cut my sibling off for a while if they took something of value like that from me. Not to mention, if you'd lost that forever, it would have marred that engagement memory for all time. Like you would think about where that ring went for the rest of your life. That's unhinged that your blood is okay with putting you through that. Not the a-hole. The parent's reaction explains why somebody in their 20s thinks it is okay to take other people's belongings. For real, hard to grasp the gravity of your actions when the first and foremost authority figures in your life are excusing your screw-ups. Who knows with this chick, but I feel sorry for anyone in this situation. It's not always easy to be a good person, especially when you see an easy way out by putting yourself first. Having little or no help navigating how to deal with those demons and how to value the people around you is a rough draw of the cards. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my son's wedding after discovering he's excluding his stepbrother from the guest list? I, 52 male, have 2 sons. Alex, 28 male, my biological son from my first marriage, and Jake, 26 male, my stepson from my wife's previous relationship. I married my current wife, 48 female, when the boys were teenagers. We blended our families the best we could, but Alex and Jake never really bonded. They were civil, but there was always tension, mostly from Alex, who felt like I was replacing him when I remarried. Over the years, I've tried to treat them equally. I paid for both of their college tuitions, helped them with their first cars, and supported them in their endeavors. I've always seen Jake as my own son, and my wife has done the same with Alex. We've done everything possible to blend our family, even though we knew the boys would never be best friends. Fast forward to now, Alex is engaged and planning a big wedding. He asked me months ago if I could contribute financially, and I happily agreed, setting aside a significant amount of money to cover most of the costs. We've been having regular planning meetings, and everything seemed to be going smoothly until last week when I noticed Jake's name was missing from the guest list. When I asked Alex about it, he shrugged and said, "I just don't want him there." I was shocked and asked for an explanation, but Alex wouldn't give me one. He simply said it was his wedding, and he didn't feel obligated to invite anyone he didn't want there. I told Alex that Jake is part of the family and that not inviting him would create unnecessary drama. Alex was adamant, saying they were never close and he didn't want to fake it on his big day. He said he'd rather have a smaller, more intimate event without any awkwardness, and I could either accept it or not. I told Alex that I wasn't comfortable funding a wedding where one of my sons was deliberately excluded without any clear reason. He got defensive and said it wasn't fair for me to hold the money over his head as a form of control. He accused me of never putting him first and always favoring Jake, which I found completely unfair, considering everything I've done for him. My wife is devastated. She feels like this is Alex's way of punishing us for marrying and blending our families. Jake, on the other hand, is trying to stay out of it, but I can tell he's hurt. He's acting like it doesn't bother him, but I know it does. He's never caused any problems and has always been respectful of Alex's space. Alex's fiancé called me and tried to mediate, saying that weddings are stressful and that Alex is just feeling overwhelmed. She begged me not to pull the funding, as they've already booked venues and vendors with the expectation of my support. She said she understood how I felt, but also reminded me that this was Alex's day, not a family reunion. Now Alex is barely speaking to me, and my extended family is split. Some think I'm justified for standing up for Jake, while others think I'm overstepping and should just let Alex have this day the way he wants it. I'm torn. I don't want to damage my relationship with Alex, but I also feel like this is a slap in the face to Jake and our entire family. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for the wedding if Alex insists on excluding his stepbrother? Is your wife being excluded as well? As important as this is sadly a relationship-ending decision by OP. This will be even worse if he pays for Jake's wedding. I think he shouldn't pay for either wedding, to be honest. What I find extremely interesting is that, in the post, Jake is painted as the good one and Alex as the problematic one somehow. Maybe it's not intended as that, but it says it came off. Of course not. Even if OP's wife is a good stepmom, OP's stepson had/has a father and gained another. OP's son still needed a dad who prioritizes him the way stepmom prioritized her own son. I'm divorced and remarried, and too often us parents forget our kids go through stress in a divorce. Only they have no say over how it's all handled. They don't fall in love with a new spouse and get excited about growing a family. They're just expected to be excited and go along with it. It sounds like there may be a history of OP not recognizing and respecting his son had feelings that differed from his own. So his son wants one day where it's about him. Sounds like stepmom was invited, just not stepbro. So perhaps stepbro was responsible for more of the not getting along than OP knows or wants to admit. Instead of asking or understanding that he gave an ultimatum, I wonder if stepbrother would invite OP's son, and if his wife would be okay with pulling contributions to her own son's wedding. Another thought, I'm wondering what Alex got out of his blended family. Jake got his college education paid for, his mother didn't bother apparently, and Alex got blamed for feeling pushed out. I was wondering the same. Alex had to share everything as a teenager onwards. What did he get in return? Jake, however, got a heck of a lot from OP. Especially as they met as teens, he didn't raise Jake from a baby. And no talk of Jake's father. Did OP overcompensate, which is why Alex always felt second best? Possibly. Update. What my 37 male wife 37 female did during our separation makes me want to make it permanent. Original post. My wife and I have been married for 6 years. We have no children. Last July, tensions were high between us. I'm an essential worker. I work the night shift and sleep during the day while she's at work. She was working from home due to COVID and was very loud. This kept waking me up and making me a very crabby person. So I was admittedly very short with her, and she was not accommodating to me at all. As a result, the time we did have together was very tense between us. It's normally a very happy time, but we weren't able to enjoy it at all. We made a decision to do a trial separation, both go to therapy separately and try couples therapy after a few months. As my company was frontline, they offered to put us up in a hotel so as not to risk our families. So I took advantage of this and moved out. I asked my wife for ground rules. My exact wording was, "So that I understand this, are we seeing other people during this time?" She angrily replied, "If that's the first place your mind goes, then maybe it's not even worth it."
I want to save our marriage, not give you an opportunity to go screw around. I apologized and assured her that I only wanted to understand where we stood. So over the past year, I've been in therapy. I talked to my boss and got my shift at work changed to day shift because I realized that the night shift was really taking a toll on my mental health. I've learned to be firm, but open and communicative and not bottle things up. I honestly feel so much better about myself as a person. My wife and I started couples counseling at the beginning of this year, and it's been really great for us. We both were open about what was wrong, both recognized the faults that we had, and both committed to wanting to make things better. We made a decision for me to move back in next month and bring the separation to an end. During our most recent session, our counselor asked if I had completely broken off any relationships that I had during our separation. I replied I didn't have any relationships during our separation. We established ground rules that this wasn't about having fun with other people. It was about getting better for our relationship to survive. Then my wife replied, we never established that as a ground rule. I quoted her words back to her, and she responded, well, I was letting you know that that should be your main focus. I mean, if you were just going to go fool around with random women and not try to improve yourself, then there was no point in trying to save things. I responded, so you were using weasel words to have things both ways. Did you date anyone? She unashamedly stated that she had slept with 7 men during the past year, that it was perfectly allowed, and I was free to be with someone else if I so choose. She stated that if I didn't want that, I should have clearly stated it. I countered that when I tried to broach it, but she got angry and shut the subject down, and now she was trying to rewrite history. I told her at this point, I need to think if I want to move in again or even try anymore, because it's clear that she treated the last year as a free pass to sleep around on me. She says that I need to grow up and get over it. I responded, see, that's where you're wrong. I don't need to do either of those things. I just need to get over you, and after today, I feel like that's going to be the easier thing to do. She insists that I'm in the wrong on this, and that when you're separated, it's completely understood that you're free to see other people. Honestly, this behavior, the weasel words, deliberately ambiguous statements, and constant deflection are the things that triggered me to blow up at her in the past. And the fact that it's still happening is just leading me to feel like I need to file for divorce and walk away. Am I making too much of this? I feel like I've made so much progress in therapy, and I know she has too. But I just feel disgusted every time I look at her. I feel like she cheated on me, and I get so angry. I don't know if there is any way to move forward with her. She keeps saying she did everything right, and I need to stop trying to punish her because I didn't explore while I could. Would I be the worst person in the world for filing for divorce at this point? I feel like I'm too close to this situation and can't think straight. What the hell do I even do at this point? I've been working for a year to fix my marriage, and I thought she was too. Now I feel like we've been working on opposing teams. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Divorce and move on. No trust, and that will eat you alive. It causes you to be paranoid 24/7, and you'll think you're insane and crazy when you are not. Second that, be smart and careful of the manipulation going forward. My husband's ex and he split up, and she moved another guy in the day he left. After a few weeks, they had a chat about bills, etc. And she told him if he wanted to try again, he wouldn't have a chance if he slept with anyone else while they were apart. She was living with someone else. How does that work in anyone's mind? He quite rightly walked away and didn't look back. We met over a year later, and when we got engaged, she texted him saying it proved he never really loved her. They were together for 10 years, but he wasn't the one who cheated. She was so delusional she thought he would hang around single waiting for her to crook her fingers. And by this time, she was married with a baby, but still thought of him as a backup. He wanted no contact as they had no children and didn't have anything to link them. She tried to be besties with my stepdaughter and even complained to me that my stepdaughter didn't want to hang out and she felt cut off. I spoke to my stepdaughter as this woman was in her life for a long time and that if she wanted to hang out, I would understand. She told me the ex wasn't very nice to her and played mind games, and the last thing she wanted was this woman to be in her life. All contact was cut off there and then. If you ask the ex, I'm sure she'd tell you I'm the evil other woman who got between her and her man. I didn't even meet him until they'd been over for more than a year. She spoiled both relationships herself, but still won't have it that she's not a victim in this. She definitely cheated. She got upset at you for bringing up sleeping with other people. So she wanted commitment during the separation, and she cheated on you during that commitment. Just move on and be happier. She obviously will only bring you misery. She definitely cheated. 7 times. 7! No, 7 dudes. 7 isn't even the number of times she slept with each dude. Update. I've gotten a few requests for updates, and as much as I'm embarrassed over this whole thing, I think it helps to get it out. We are getting divorced. Shortly after the big revelation, our counselor asked to speak to me one-on-one. She told me, "You need to walk away for your own health. You've made so much progress and so many positive changes. This won't work unless you're both trying, and Tina is not trying. This can't be all on you because she will keep dragging you back down." My counselor told me that she was crossing a line by telling me what to do, but she literally could not sleep after finishing up our session and seeing the look on my face. When I thought about it, she's right. I've been using this time to become a better, more rounded person, while my wife has been using it as a free pass to act like a teenager and has kept up the deceitful gaslighting behaviors that plagued our marriage for far too long. When I told my wife it was over, she broke down sobbing. She begged me not to leave, told me that I could have a free pass to go do what I wanted to get even, and swore that if I had been clear, she never would have touched another man. I have to admit, I felt myself wanting to say yes, because for a second she was the woman I fell in love with again. But it was just a second that I knew would end, and we'd be back to walking in eggshells and playing head games soon enough. I told her that we both deserved better than the people we had been to each other, and the fact that she thought I wanted revenge and still blamed me for her actions told me that she hadn't learned to be better. She told me she'd do anything to make it work, and asked what I wanted to see from her. I told her that I had seen everything I needed from her, and if she could only be better when divorce became a reality, then she had not made the progress I believed she had before that session. I served her with papers that I'm moving forward with a divorce. She's asked me to please resume counseling sessions, but I've refused. I know it's the right decision, but I feel very conflicted. There's something inside me that feels like I'm doing wrong, even though I know it's the only way I'll eventually be happy. I just read the first post. Not gonna lie, when she tried to twist what the rules of the separation were after the fact, it had my blood boiling. I'm glad you have seen the light, and trying to save the marriage was a fool's endeavor. Good luck moving forward. I know, right? I read the first post and was absolutely blown away by how crappy of a person she is. Not gonna lie, when she tried to twist what the rules of the separation were after the fact, it had my blood boiling. Not only that, but admitting she slept with 7 different people during a pandemic. Clearly a raging narcissist, reinforced by the fact that the remorse only came when Opie told her he wanted a divorce. She didn't think she could possibly be in the wrong at any point, up until she had to face direct consequences for her actions. Your counselor is a true MVP. Never saw that coming. Also, she begged me not to leave, told me that I could have a free pass to go do what I wanted to get even, and swore that if I'd been clear, she never would have touched another man. Even at that point, she couldn't admit she was wrong, and tried to blame it on you again. Your counselor was right. Your ex is a terrible person. I mean, she even said herself that the separation was to work on saving the marriage and not to see other people. It doesn't matter how she tries to frame it after the fact, because I take her actions during the separation, which she still takes no accountability for, as her not having any interest in saving the marriage. Only my opinion, but I believe until death do we part. And I hope it works that way for you. Just read your first post and I was disgusted by your ex-wife's behavior. I can't imagine actually living through that situation. I know it must be tough, but you're doing the best thing for yourself, and you should take some pride in making that kind of hard decision. Now for the last story. Wife of 8 years acting erratically. Wants to end marriage but won't because she isn't financially independent. My 34 male wife, 30 female works previously, but has been a stay-at-home mother to our 5-year-old for the last 5 years. We own a house that I have worked 50 to 60 hours a week to provide everything we need in my income alone. Our marriage has been great. Sure, we have had our fights, but nothing that wasn't reconciled basically immediately. 2 weeks ago, the neighbor directly across the street, whom we've never really met, asked my wife if she could drop off and pick up her granddaughter from school. Same school as my daughter goes to. Because her and her son, 28 male, that lives with her are having a hard time adjusting their schedules to do it themselves. My wife agrees to do it, and this nightmare begins. After a week, my wife has spent some time talking to the grandmother and child, and finds out the kid is in a pretty bad situation. Her dad comes and goes as it pleases, Her mom is rarely around, so the grandmother basically raises her. I've never met her dad, but from my home I've witnessed him screaming at the kid and his mom in their driveway/lawn. I watched as he threw all the kids' mother's belongings on the lawn at 3 a.m. Disrupts the neighborhood with loud music from his car whenever it comes and goes at all hours. Drives erratically. I just don't get the sense he's an outstanding citizen. His mother also tells my wife he battles with depression and anxiety, which is the reason for his outbursts. Anyway, my wife tells me that she feels bad for the kid and doesn't mind watching her to get her away from the drama at home, and I agree. One night, my wife walks the girl over to her dad when he gets home and comes back to tell me the guy was yelling and berating both of them for reasons she didn't know. This past Tuesday, I get home from work at around 5 p.m. My wife says she's taking our daughter and the neighbor kid to get their nails done. 2 hours later, I haven't heard from her, so I call and get no answer. This goes on for around 30 minutes, then she texts me and says she's meeting the girl's dad at the mall to give him his daughter. Because of him being aggressive toward them a couple days before, this gets me concerned, so I try and call again but get no answer. The mall isn't far, so I ride over to see if I spot them and they are not there. I drive around a little and spot my wife's vehicle in a different parking lot. I park and walk up, it's just her and our daughter inside. I get a deer and headlights look, and she immediately starts saying she's not happy and she's done with our marriage. She admits she had been walking around the mall with the girl's father talking. I get her to drive back home and things go further off the rails. She is flipping out, telling me I overreacted, and there was no reason to come find her. I tried to explain I was concerned because the guy was talking crazy to her in the past and supposedly struggles with mental health issues. And she tells me he never yelled at her the night she said he did. She told me that to throw me off and lead me to believe she wouldn't be around him. She eventually says she's going over to their house because she doesn't want to be near me and leaves my daughter and I at home. By this time, it was around 10 p.m. She never came back home until 5 a.m. The next few days are very strange. Wednesday started with everything calm and normal. But by that evening, she's telling me I'm not welcome at her family's Thanksgiving dinner, and she goes back to their house that evening for a couple hours. The time she does spend at home, she's on her phone texting him constantly and gets very defensive if I mention anything about the situation. Thanksgiving morning, everything is calm again, and end up going to dinner with the family and the day is as normal as ever. Friday, we get up and go shopping for a while and have a great morning. On the way home, she says she's going out with a lady and her son that night. I push back, questioning why and explain how confused and hurt I am, and she basically doesn't want to hear it. So that night I take my daughter to see a movie and to hang out with some friends and their kids afterward. Get home around 9, and my wife is home already, acting as if everything is normal. Saturday goes smooth, then in the evening, completely out of the blue, she tells me she wants me to stay somewhere else that night or she's leaving. Like an idiot, I tell her I will go, because deep down I don't want to send her out into the night going who knows where. She tells me to take our daughter with me. So I get a hotel room and try to play it up to my daughter as we are just having a fun night staying in a hotel, eating snacks and watching movies. When I got home Sunday morning, I sent our daughter to church with my mother-in-law, and we sat down to talk. She says she has felt unappreciated for a long time and has put her life on hold to raise our daughter. She is tired of it and wants to have fun and would leave if she had any income or a place to go, but can't go anywhere because she will have nothing. I tell her I love her more than anything, and I'm willing to do whatever I need to salvage what we have if it is at all possible. She says she doesn't know what she wants. She might just be going through a phase. I offer up the suggestions that from now on, no one is forced to leave the house. Our daughter's sense of normalcy and home is prioritized, and I will stay on a different level of the house to give her space and privacy for the time being. She asks me if I'm willing to continue handling the finances the way we always have. We have a joint account, and she takes care of paying the bills. As far as the people across the street, she says there are new interesting people she's getting to know, who also have an interest in her and she enjoys their company. Apparently the first night she went over, she painted me as some raving lunatic husband who was ready to turn the town upside down to find his wife, and they have no desire to meet me because of this. She tells me she doesn't have feelings for the dad. Last night, after our daughter went to bed, she went back across the street. I had to return to work from holiday this morning, so she texted me saying to let her know when I was leaving and she would come back over, which she did. This is all so uncharacteristic of her, and I'm baffled by how in a span of 5 days, my life has turned completely inside out. I want to work in our marriage and I'm willing to give her space to think, but it is destroying me inside to stay in a home with a woman who out of the blue wants to leave, but won't because she is not financially independent. Should I give her time to think and continue to pay for everything? I feel cast away to my basement and can't even look out the front window without seeing the home she would rather be at than our own. It also seems like she no longer cares to have our daughter. She has always been a great mother, but acts annoyed by everything all of a sudden. I just don't know what to do about any of this. I don't want to do anything to push her further away, but am I supposed to continue to eat crap and swallow politely so she can live out this new scenario? It hurts so bad. I want to hang in there, but it's like the moment my nerves settle, something crazy happens. I'm open to any advice I can get. I feel like I can't go to any of our friends or family because I'd rather keep it quiet for now, and it's hard to carry this around on my own. Could she be on some substance? This seems really extreme. That or she's cheating. I don't know why else should go on extended visits with the abusive dad, staying over at his house, hiding things from Opie. It sounds like substance use or an affair. For sure. Could definitely be an affair or both. The reason I thought these is because the abusive dad's behavior sounds like the behavior of someone out of their gourd on it. You need advice from an actual lawyer where you live. Don't leave the house anymore. It can look bad for you down the line. This behavior is very concerning, and it does not seem like she plans to stop. I am no doctor, but people have gone insane in the pandemic. A lot less going on, especially for stay-at-home parents, I would believe. She may have been sliding off the rails slowly, and then something exciting happens and trigger her. Now we do a good search of the house and electronics to look for substances, evidence of cheating, or anything that can explain this. Again, talk with a lawyer. Maybe separation can be good, but make sure you do it by the book, and not in a way that can make you lose custody. Right now, you have an unstable partner at your hands. She's not well mentally, but she understands very well that she's in a horrible spot financially. I'm not saying she will pull some shady and/or illegal crap, but she has motivation to do so. A lawyer can help you minimize the chance for her to do that. It is not really about your relationship, but to protect your child. Anything can happen at this point, so set up extra protection on your accounts and electronics. Secure irreplaceable items, important documents, etc. Thank you for the advice. I'll be seeking out soon. The hardest/most confusing part for me is how hot and cold she is. It's like she wants to act as if everything is normal, communicate respectfully, try and make me feel better, but as soon as her phone goes off and she starts talking to him or his mom, it all goes up and she doesn't want anything to do with me. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my sister's trip to water park? I, female 29, am a big fan of water parks, and so are my nieces, 16, 15, 13. Before COVID, my boyfriend and I wanted to go for a big trip to one of the biggest water parks I've ever been to, so one of the most expensive too. Then COVID happened and we missed it. This year was a total nightmare. My boyfriend and I are residents, and our hospital got understaffed, causing us to work double shifts on a regular basis. Due to our work schedule, my nieces helped us out with dogs from time to time, taking them on walks, etc. as we live on the same street. So when the water park opened, we decided to take a whole weekend off and just go. My brother, my niece's dad, called me and said that the girls really wanted to go too, openly said he can't afford a trip, and asked if we could take them, and he would pay us back once things got better for him. My boyfriend and I decided we would love to take them, and we don't want any money back, partly because they're kids and they deserve to have some fun, and partly because we wanted to show our appreciation for taking care of our dogs. Then my sister, female 22, heard about it, all and asked me if she and her girlfriend, female 22, can go too. I said sure, we all should go together, as I thought they just wanted to join us there. A few days after our conversation, I texted her about the dates of the trip, and that's the end of our conversation. One day before the trip, she called me and asked me at what time would we pick them up. I was confused and told her our car has 5 seats only, so they need to drive by themselves. She got a little annoyed because she didn't plan the road trip, then asked me which hotel they should head at. The water park has 3 of them. I said, I don't know, check which one you booked on your email. And firstly, she got silent, and then she got mad. She thought I booked the hotel for them, and she started freaking out. I also told her I haven't booked their water park passes either, and she got even more mad. The prices for that weekend went really high, so she asked me to PayPal her the money. I refused. She got really upset that I wouldn't pay for her and would pay for my nieces. Said I just prefer them over her. I promised her the trip, so I can't say no now, etc., etc. Then my mom called me and asked me to go 50-50 with her on my sister's trip, but I also refused. I'm not a bankomat. She is an adult and she makes her own money choices, but she thinks if I can pay for my nieces, I should be able to take her too. Only my brother stood up for me, and we have this whole family drama now. My family thinks I am the a-hole because I stood my sister up. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. There's no possible way you are the a-hole here. Your sister just made a lot of assumptions, none of which were reasonable to make. Your mom encouraging her behavior, I'm guessing, is a big part of the problem. I hope you and your nieces have a great time. Thank you. We have already been there last weekend, and although this is definitely my favorite water park so far, I just felt awful getting all the hate messages from my family. Apparently my sister spent the whole weekend crying, and I started to wonder, is my judgment off and am I in the wrong? But now I see everyone is agreeing with me, so I feel a little more confident. Honestly, even if your fully grown adult sister expected you to take her daughter with you for free since you are taking your other nieces, you would still be not the a-hole. You're not an ATM machine. You're taking those kids specifically because they helped you out, and also their dad offered to pay you for those tickets. Not the a-hole. Nothing to feel guilty about. She's being a kid. She needs to be told that. You're not made of money. If your mom had a different opinion, she could have paid for her daughter. Not the a-hole. Your sister's 22. She's old enough to pay for herself. What is it with all of these full-grown adults? I've seen quite a few posts where just because a relative is covering/paying for someone's kids, they automatically think they should get a free ride too. How does that even begin to make sense in their minds? Not the a-hole. As an adult, you don't hear about another adult's trip, ask if you can go too, and then assume they are going to pay for you. So rude. Also, how on earth did you think you were all going to get in the car? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not calling my dad and stepmother when it looked like my sister might not make it after delivery? My sister, 30 female, recently had a baby. Early in her pregnancy, she learned of complications and it terrified her. Not least of all because our mom died shortly after giving birth to me, and it has always seemed like the labor was at least partly to blame. When she started to deteriorate, she talked to me and her husband and said she didn't want our stepmother there when she gave birth or while she was recovering, and asked I not tell them when she went into labor. Her reason was she didn't want to be reminded of what could happen if she died, that her son's stepmother could be like ours was. Someone who was so insecure and paranoid about the fact we didn't want to stop talking or hearing about her, that she emotionally tried to suffocate us and beg for the role as mom from us. It was a real minefield growing up. She was worse with me because I was so young when she entered my life. I was 3, and she really wanted to be my mom. But the way she reacted to stuff is why I never saw her in that light. Like the time my sister and I were singing happy birthday to our mom up in heaven, because as kids we believe that, and we both don't now, and she started crying about how it was so mean to do that to her and all this stuff. Our dad never cared. He saw it as her wanting to be there and love us, and none of this was bad. I was 5 during that incident. When I was 10, she broke down sobbing because I wanted to spend the summer with my maternal grandparents. So even though we both know her husband would never let her be forgotten, she was still terrified. And so I did what she asked, and her labor did almost kill her. It was very touch and go for a bit, but she pulled through, and then I called our father. The fallout of it has been huge, and I'm being blamed. My dad told me I should have defied her wishes so they could say goodbye to their daughter if anything had happened. And even with my sister saying it was her wishes, he called me an a-hole and told me I had hurt my mother. I told him my mother wasn't alive to be hurt, which started another fight. But even some extended family have been saying I should have discarded my sister's wishes. So I've got to ask, am I the a-hole? This one is easy. Not the a-hole. You cannot reveal someone's private medical information without their permission, with very few exceptions. The only exception I could think of is that they are putting others in danger without their knowledge. Like if they have an infectious disease but aren't telling the people who are being exposed to the disease. Since that isn't the case here, you have no right to reveal her private medical information to anyone. You did the right thing. Also, the only ethical choice. Edited to add, to clarify, I'm not trying to claim it would be illegal because I'm not a lawyer. I meant in the ethical sense that you generally should not reveal a person's private medical information to anyone without their permission. In a legal sense, this really only applies to doctors and other medical personnel. Or if you tell your boss, then they can't go and spread it around. There are no real ramifications for family telling family or others. In a moral sense, it's a prick move. Agree that Opie is not an a-hole. Not an a-hole. Your sister made her wishes clear, and you abided by them. That information wasn't yours to share. You acted completely appropriately. And if your dad doesn't understand why your sister didn't want the stepmom in the delivery room, someone should explain it to him. You're a good sibling. Opie doesn't state the rage, but I get the impression that dad has had at least 2 decades to figure out why his daughter wouldn't want his wife in the delivery room, and either doesn't get it or doesn't want to get it. At this point, it might be better to just limit contact with the two of them. Stepmom being so jealous of a dead woman that she managed to turn a kid who was 3 when she came into their life against her is telling of how bad she must have been. Not the whole. A dying person's wishes always come before the wishes of the living. It's amazing that you fulfilled hers. You're a wonderful sibling. Agreed. Also, a pregnant person's decisions about / during labor are more important than anyone else. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my infertile friend after she got pregnant? For about 10 years, I, female 28, have been in a group of friends, 6 couples and 3 singles. One of the couples, Jane, female 32, and John, male 33, started trying for a baby about 6 to 7 years ago, and they found out that they most likely would never have a baby, at least not without help. They were pretty open about this with us, and we were all supportive. Neither of the rest of us were trying at that time, but they asked that whenever someone got pregnant, we would let them know in private and respect that they might need some space. Until 4 years ago, it was all fine between us all. But Jane still hadn't gotten pregnant and was struggling a lot, especially with several of our friends having babies, including me and my husband, male 32. Jane didn't want to be around as much, and she asked that we step down on contact. All of us with kids, that is. We understood and respected it, although of course we missed her. But after a while, she started talking bad about us to our friends without kids, and posting things on Facebook and Instagram, basically ranting about how awful we all were, and that we were having kids to rub it in her face that she couldn't get pregnant. After about a year of this, I blocked her and everything. Dad didn't hear from her until a few days ago. She's 7 months pregnant and she wants to make up and put the past behind us. But I don't want to. I'm still hurt by the things she said about me and my kids and our friends. I understand she was hurting and struggling a lot with her friends having babies when she wanted to so bad, and I do forgive her. But I just don't want to let her back in my life. Most of our friends feel the same way, but our single friends and one couple who were child-free thinks we're too hard on Jane, and that we should forgive her. Basically, they're saying that since we all have kids, we should be more understanding, because we, more than them, know how much Jane and John wanted kids and a family, and we understand their needs since we have it too. But Jane was really horrible and said awful hurtful things, even though we did what we could to be respectful and supportive, and did all they ask of us. I just can't bring myself to be close with her again. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I am happy for you and understand where your anger came from for all these years, but the things you said and did were public and extremely hurtful. I forgive you, but I am not ready to reestablish a friendship right now. I will contact you if I'm ready to talk. Yep, this right here. We also suffered from 5 years of infertility. It was hell. Seeing her being around kids was emotional torture. Know what we didn't do? Blame our friends and people with kids for it and take it out on them. She's the a-hole, and that behavior is inexcusable. Not the a-hole. She doesn't get to use her fertility issues as a get-out-of-jail-free card for horrible behavior. Yeah, life is hard and crappy. Not an excuse. I personally had a horrible childhood and had certain experiences that caused long-lasting trauma. I've never been a vile human to people I called my friends because of my inability to get therapy and take responsibility for myself. I have been out of control at times, but I made sure the only person I could affect in those times was myself. I'm obviously not gonna say exactly what happened or the situation I was in, but it makes infertility look like a walk in the park. She's a childish person and a bad friend. Not Dayhal. It's one thing for her to distance herself from her friends with kids, although I still think she should have gotten therapy for that. But to badmouth, you crossed the line. Not Dayhal. As a woman who can't have kids, I understand the pain of watching everyone around you enjoy something you desperately want but can't have. As a person of integrity, I don't allow those feelings to punish those around me, and I work hard not to suck the natural joy out of procreation situations. Your friend has behaved in a way that shows her poor character. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister-in-law around my kids? So, my brother and sister-in-law are child-free by choice. I have 2-year-old twins with my wife that I gave birth to after having suffered 2 miscarriages previously. Aside from Lucy not being that enthusiastic about them, everything seemed fine. But then recently, a friend of mine joined a few private child-free groups on Facebook. One turned out to be one of the more toxic child-free groups, similar to main child-free sub on here to give you an idea, and she saw that Lucy had been posting about me and my kids. Posts dating back to when I was pregnant with my twins, saying that it was so sad to see me putting myself through this again after the miscarriages, and basically implying I was pitiable and stupid for wanting this and whatever. Implied that this was especially so because I'm obviously married to a woman, so couldn't get pregnant naturally. And then complaining that I thought the world revolved around me for being pregnant. At the time I was on bed rest during my high-risk pregnancy, and that I shouldn't complain because I chose this. And then complaining about the kids, and how whenever she sees my family, everything revolves around them, and calling my kids brats and ranting about them being badly behaved and dirty, etc, etc. Now, I would say I'm pretty strict with my kids. I know I'm still somewhat biased as their mother, but I really don't think my kids are that badly behaved for their age. I mean, they're 2 for Pete's sake. They're going to be irrational. They're going to have tantrums and get upset over tiny things. They're going to sneeze and drool and drop crumbs and make a mess sometimes. It is fine for her to not want to be around that, but that doesn't mean she gets to call me and my wife and kids every name under the book. Breeders, crotch goblin, all the typical ones. Anyway, my friend sent me screenshots of these posts and I was pretty pissed. I went on our family group chat, just me, my wife, my parents, Alex and Lucy, and my younger sister on there, and posted the screenshots and said that someone has brought these to my attention. And Lucy doesn't have to love my kids, but I won't tolerate anyone talking about them like that, and I will not feel comfortable having her around them for a while. Alex got Lucy to send me an apology, but while I acknowledge it, I don't think her feelings have changed, and I still don't want her around them and will not let Alex see them if she's present. Alex is really upset about being caught in the middle and kind of implied I'm withholding my kids from him to punish him from what Lucy did, and says that I should forgive her because she was just venting in private and would never say that to our faces. In my opinion, that's not the point. It's not about forgiving her. I just don't want someone around my kids that would say that stuff about them. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, some people are questioning why I sent screenshots in family group. It was because usually when Alex and Lucy come to town, they stay with my parents, and I wanted to make it clear to everyone that I wouldn't be bringing my kids into any situation where Lucy was there, at least for the foreseeable future. Not Dayhole. She wasn't venting in private. She was making vile comments about you, your pregnancy, and your children on social media. You are under no obligation to have her near you, your children, or your property unless you wish it. No one is putting anyone in the middle. She acted horribly and is now facing the consequences of her actions. Your brother can still see them. She wasn't venting in private. The amount of people who mix social media up is mad. It's a public forum. Whether you're letting off steam or being hand-on Bible truthful, you're putting it out into the world. Not Dayhole. Lucy said horrible things about you and your children. Many things. I could get past a comment or two, but she's been actively posting hateful things about you/your family for years. If Alex wants to see your kids, he can see them solo. His excuse that she was just venting in private is absurd. Posting stuff on Facebook is the opposite of private. The fact that she would never say that to your faces doesn't help. It just means she's two-faced and fake. Agreed. Unfortunately for them, the cat's out of the bag, and they'll have to deal with the fallout now. Alex will have to suck it up and see the twins on his own. And if he keeps complaining, remind him that this will keep Lucy happy because she won't have to see the kids and have a reason to complain about them or your choice to have them. This is frankly a kind compromise. Not a-hole. Not a-hole. Because she was just venting in private and would never say that to our faces. Yes, because talking bad about you behind your back is so much more acceptable. Your brother does get to see your children without Lucy present, so you are not punishing him. If he chooses to not see the kids, that's punishing himself. You don't have to associate with people who call you breeder or your kids crotch goblins. Child-free is a perfectly fine choice for your life. You should let others make choices about their lives as well without your opinion, as long as their choice does not negatively affect you. Seriously, everyone's saying everyone sucks here she's allowed to vent in private, or glossing over the fact that she crap-talked Opie behind her back. If anything, she's doing her sister-in-law a favor. She doesn't like Opie's kids, so now she doesn't have to put up with them. I'm not a a-hole for what I told my 25 female pregnant sister, 16 female. For background information, I am the oldest of my 3 siblings. The one this centers around is the youngest, Anna. I am the one who takes care of my siblings, and I still do to this day. Our father is a deadbeat, and our mother is a bad person and never took care of us. I can't get into all of it due to the rules, but she was never meant to be a parent. And so, I've always taken care of myself. And when I was 6, my brothers were born and they became my responsibility. And then later, Anna was born. I've done my best to take care of them, but I was just a kid. So, of course, none of us grew up as we should have. Because of this, Anna in particular got into doing things she shouldn't. Again, I can't get into it all due to rules, but given the situation I'm in here, I think you can guess. Well, now, she's found out she's pregnant. My first suggestion was termination, and she absolutely lost it. She went on about how awful I was for even suggesting it, and how she'd never let me near the kid, etc. And so I told her that if she had this kid, I would not support her mentally, physically, financially, or emotionally. I will not calm the kid in the middle of the night. I won't change its diapers. I won't pay for the medical appointment. I won't buy formula, nor make it or feed a kid, or absolutely anything else. It is her responsibility to get a job and get the money to take care of it. And of course, while I won't tell her this, I won't let the kid starve or go without basic needs. If she can't afford food, I will buy it because it isn't fair to the kid. But regardless, I told her I already had to raise 3 kids that weren't mine. For 19 years, I've taken care of the family and I will not raise another kid. Furthermore, Anna is high-risk pregnancy. We have bad health issues in our family, including high blood pressure, PCOS, diabetes, etc. There's even a small chance she won't survive the birth. Before our fight, she told me if it happens, she wants me to take the kid. We don't have any other family. Not our mom, dad, no aunts, no uncles, nothing. And so I told her if it happened, I'm not keeping the kid and it is going to the system. She's now extremely angry with me, but I'm done. She admitted that she wanted to get pregnant. I know she's going to have a hard time with the kid in pregnancy, but I've raised 3 kids, and I'm not even a mom. I'm done. I didn't make her do this, but despite this, I feel like I've been too cruel to her. I know my words were harsh, but my mind can't decide if it was excessively harsh or if it was the harsh words she needed to hear. So I figured, why not? I'll make a post on this subreddit that I've seen so often. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She's clearly not ready for a child, but ultimately that is her decision to make. However, she should be fully prepared to raise that child on her own, and her expecting you to do it is totally unfair. Lay it down for her and tell her what it's going to be like. Beyond that, it's up to her. Just know that you're a wonderful sister for taking care of her for so long, and for losing a large part of your childhood by forcing yourself to be a parental figure when you yourself probably weren't ready. Edit. I want to clarify that I absolutely empathize with Opie's younger sister. And I'm sure Opie does too, obviously. 16 and pregnant is tough, especially alone, and I could not even imagine. Opie's sister is very frankly still a child, and is now going to be confronted with some very adult and life-changing decisions. And all Opie can do is do her best to impart her experiences and wisdom onto sister, and hope she makes the right decision. And a part of that is making sure sister is entirely clear on the extent of which Opie can and will be involved. Support systems in raising children are absolutely important, and sister needs to know exactly what her support system is before she decides whether or not to have the child. I don't blame her for wanting Opie to help, but ultimately she needs to be able to live with the fact that Opie won't be as involved as she likes. Knowing all of that, if she still wants to have the child, then that's her decision to make. I just want Opie to also know that this isn't her fault, and she's not obligated to do more than what she can or wants to. Not the a-hole at all. Seriously, she shouldn't have had a kid under the expectation you'd raise it. Let's be honest here, that was what she was banking on. And to be honest, I say put her if you're legally able to. If you let her stay, you will end up raising a fourth child you don't want. I know it's hard, I know it's painful, but you're just going to enable her more at this rate. Right now, it's just one more kid, but then it's another. And then more issues, etc., etc. If she thinks she's mature enough to have a kid, she should be able to handle her own life with it without someone else's support. Also, she doesn't get to say, I won't let you near the baby, and then expect help. End of story. Best of luck, Opie. I hope things work out for you. Make sure to take care for yourself and hold strong. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be around my girlfriend's little sister and causing a rift in the family? I met my girlfriend when we were 11. We were on the same basketball team, so I met her family at the games. Her sister Sammy was 8 back then, and I guess her family used to like teasing that she has a little crush on me, and she'd get all shy whenever I hung out with them. They made jokes about me being her little boyfriend. Then we got together when we were 13. So the whole Sammy crushing on me got more obvious. Everyone in her family says it's cute. Sometimes Sammy would come with us to the movies, and I'd buy them stuff. Whenever I go with her family anywhere, Sammy always wants to sit next to me or on my lap. Never said anything back then since she was a little kid and didn't mean anything. Now she's 15 and feel like the crush has got worse, to a point where it is awkward and uncomfortable for me. She doesn't hide that she gets jealous of my girlfriend, or when I'm at other place, she's like glued to me. Gets mad if we want to be alone in my girlfriend's room. Wants to go with us wherever we go. Everyone always treated it like Sammy being herself. But now, it makes me super uncomfortable at her wanting to be all over me sometimes, and I purposely sit somewhere she won't have space to be near me. We just learned recently that my girlfriend is pregnant, and we moved into our own place to get ready for our baby. Sammy straight up lost it when we told our families we're pregnant. I'm serious. She locked herself in the bathroom crying for an hour, yelling that she hates everyone. So yeah, with her reaction, I want to be around her even less. I told my girlfriend how I've been feeling uncomfortable with her sister for a long time, and I should have said all this sooner. My girl apologized because she always thought I was okay with some of the crap her sister does, but says I don't have to interact with her if I don't want to. She also talked to her family about getting Sammy to start respecting my boundaries and let it go with the boyfriend jokes already. They don't think Sammy's doing anything wrong since the crush is innocent, so they pretty much don't want to tell her to keep some distance from me when we come over. Her parents started coming at me to stop making a big deal and punishing Sammy for how she feels. I showed my girlfriend a text they sent me, and she got pissed. So now, she won't go either until they start getting her Sammy to behave right around me. But they won't do that. Now the whole family's attacking us, especially my girlfriend, and it's making me feel guilty. They're saying I'm terrible for ruining things between my girlfriend and them. They don't get why I'm being this way. My girlfriend is so mad she don't want to talk to them. They're saying it's my fault. Am I the a-hole for starting this whole thing by not wanting to be around Sammy anymore? Not the a-hole. They let this inappropriate behavior go on way too long and encouraged it by not doing anything and repeatedly saying you were Sammy's boyfriend. WTF? Family and Sammy are very in the wrong here. I agree. She's 15. That's too old to be acting this inappropriate. She's not far off adulthood and needs to learn how to handle relationships, rejection, and everything in between. She's not been taught the right boundaries though. I feel sorry for her. But the family are absolutely in the wrong here. OP perhaps arranged to have a chat with you, your girlfriend and Sammy without the family present, to explain new boundaries in a kind way. She won't be happy about it, but it'll help everyone's relationship in the future. Not the a-hole. Bro, good job saying something. Your girl doesn't find that weird? They're sisters, right? Yeah, but I guess because she was used to her sister's personality, and it's been happening for years already. Like, she knows about her crush because it's super obvious, but didn't realize it was making me feel very uncomfortable. Not the a-hole. Please go very low contact with her family until the baby is born. This should be a special time for you both, and your girlfriend really doesn't need the added pressure during her pregnancy. I hope you two don't live with them. If you do, move out ASAP. Sammy's crush may have started out innocently, but it shouldn't have been allowed to go into this very unhealthy phase. Sammy's a teenager bursting with hormones and crazy thoughts. I really hope she doesn't hurt herself over this. Nah, we moved out once we knew she was pregnant. Moving in together was something we were going to do anyways. We told them like a month after. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my friend that I don't need her stupid parenting advice because she doesn't have kids by choice, and she doesn't know what it's like to be a mom? She, 26 female, doesn't have kids because she doesn't want to, but she loves to tell other people what to do with theirs, and most of them ignore her. But I, 23 female, can't. I swear I try because I love her, and I don't want to hurt her feelings, but I'm getting tired of her attitude and I can't just ignore her. I've been dealing with people like her since my first daughter, 6 female, was born. I had her when I was 17, and at the time, I used to do what everyone told me because I was really young and also a first-time mom, but now I'm an adult and I'm tired of people telling me how to parent my kids. I gave birth to my second daughter almost 2 weeks ago, and my husband, 31 male, and I decided not to pierce her ears. Because even if it sounds silly, we don't like the idea of causing her pain for something she didn't ask to have. In this case, earrings. And this friend thinks it's stupid because she thinks that if I pierce her ears now, she won't feel so much pain. Honestly, I don't even know where she got that from. And that if we wait until she can decide like how we did it with her sister, then she will suffer like her. She said that because when my oldest daughter was born, my husband and I decided not to pierce her ears either. She got her ears pierced a few weeks ago for her 6th birthday because she wanted to. And it's true that it hurt, but now she's fine. And I told my friend that, but she said that my husband and I are really selfish because we know that waiting hurts our oldest daughter, and that now we want to repeat history just because we want to be cool parents who let their kids do what they want. And that's not true. I tried really hard to ignore her, but then when my husband came home, my friend was at our house with our daughter from school, and she saw that my husband had bought her a doll just because she was jealous of the gifts her little sister has been receiving, said that we are raising her like those spoiled girls who when they grow up end up being a pain in the butt. That we have to stop trying to be cool parents and start being real parents, because otherwise at 10 she will do whatever she wants. And I was dealing with a crying baby and a 6-year-old who was trying to get all my attention to tell me what she did at school, and I was exhausted. So I told my friend to stop, and she was like, no, but you both need to stop being so permissive, blah blah blah. And I told her that I'm tired of her trying to tell me what to do when she doesn't even have a child, and has no intention of having one, that I don't need her stupid advice because she has no idea how hard it is to raise a child. Then she said that she knows how difficult it is because her sister has 5 kids, and that I'm acting like a stubborn kid who can't take advice. That she's just trying to help me and that I don't appreciate her help. Am I the a-hole for reacting that way? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She's really quite annoying. Her not suggestions, but very harsh judgments. I'd get annoyed too. And, actually, the fact she has not children is just tangential. I guess she would be obnoxious even if she had a pair. Not the a-hole. Based on the fact that she thinks babies don't feel pain. All the other stuff too, but she's an idiot. Not the a-hole. To be honest, I'm a firm believer of not piercing babies' ears, as I find it cruel to put an infant in unnecessary pain for an accessory. Plus, they may not even want them when they get a bit older. My parents waited until I asked when I was 11. Plus, when they're older, you're also able to teach them how to take care of their piercings. Every parent has a different parenting style, and don't let anyone tell you yours is wrong. Congrats on the newest addition to your family. Not day-haul. Most people just instinctively know not to stick their noses into other people's parenting. Your friend doesn't. And even after you spell it out for her, she still thinks she's in the right. If "bugger off, my kids and my life aren't your business" doesn't get the message across, it may be time to reevaluate how valuable this friendship is to your life. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my brother and sister-in-law to give me back clothes that I gave them for their son? I, 25 female, and my husband, 31 male, have 2 kids, 3 female and 1 male. Both of my kids have always been dressed in boutique clothing or higher-end clothing. Most outfits cost $30+ per kid that they wear, not including shoes and bows for my daughter. I buy them these because I like them and can afford it. And catching the drops of these shops has become a weird hobby for my husband and I. He gets excited when he scores something I wanted for the kids if I missed it. Lol. My brother, 22 male, and sister-in-law, female 20, had a son in September 2020 and have told me how much they love the outfits my son wore and how they wished they could afford to dress their son in boutique clothing. I sometimes buy him outfits, but the clothing I like is limited and you have to really be quick to purchase what you like. So obviously, I put getting my kids what I like first before getting things for their son. I thought we were done having kids. Last October, 2020, we moved to a different state than my brother and sister-in-law, so I decided to go through and give them all of my son's old clothes, except for anything with his name on it. It was 2 packed full totes of clothing. We recently found out that I'm pregnant again and we're having a boy. So I asked sister-in-law for just a few specific outfits. I don't need the entire 2 totes of clothing back. She said she would sell them to me as she's seen them go for almost double on the resale pages than what I paid in retail at their original drops. I paid $40 for one outfit and she's apparently seen it sold for $70 because the print wasn't brought back this year. She offered for me to pay $55 instead of $70. She doesn't even have these items listed online. She just wants me to buy them back from her. I literally laughed at her and absolutely refused and got off the phone with her. My brother called me later that night and told me I embarrassed her for laughing at her for saying she'd sell them to me. He said I poor shamed them, which I didn't. I didn't say a single thing about their or my finances or the cost or even bring up money at all. He said they've been really tight on money because they're trying to save and buy a house. They live with my parents rent-free, and that's why she was offering to sell them to me. He told me I was being an a-hole for even asking for the clothes in the first place when I know they hold value. And I know my brother is the only one working. I thought it was absurd that they'd call me Nahal like that, but my mom thinks I should have just left them alone. Because apparently, sister-in-law is dealing with a lot of PPD, and I know how bad PPD is, and how small things like that can make it worse. And now I feel like I should apologize. Not Nahal, but let this be a lesson to not help them out anymore. They didn't even need clothes in the first place. They had a baby shower with more than 50 people there. They got more items for their one kid than what you'd find at Target. I gave them the clothes because they liked them, and my son didn't fit in them anymore. Not Nahal. It doesn't matter if those clothes were high-end or bought from Goodwill. They belong to you, and you generously gave them to your brother and sister-in-law when you easily could have sold them. You only asked for a few things back and your sister-in-law had the nerve to try and sell them to you? That's ridiculous. And if you still live in the same state, I go over and get all the clothes back. Your brother and sister-in-law are super entitled. I'm actually going to visit them this week. Lol. My sister said I shouldn't have even said anything and just gone through the totes and got the few I wanted and just told her I was taking them. I wouldn't have felt right doing that, but your comment made me think of her comment. Everyone sucks here. We'll probably get downvoted. But you gave those clothes to your brother and sister-in-law because you thought you weren't having another baby. Unless you told them you wanted them back, you really can't reclaim something that was a gift. That's a dick move. But your sister-in-law is also an a-hole for trying to resell them to you. It's not like she was the one who bought them. You weren't poor shaming them either. Actually, I wouldn't have even been mad if she said no. I was just shocked that she wanted me to buy them back.